2017, the beginning of a new era, and by that I mean the release of Geometry Dash Update 2.1. Needless to say, 2017 was a year of not much. The only things that happened at the time was a long string of shitty world events that don't go anywhere, which a bunch of morons on Twitter would attempt to resolve with minimal effort. If there's anything that's remained consistent, it's people's unending abilities to get angry over nothing. But when you're angry at someone, you can't exactly go chit them out in public, unless you prefer to spend your next 3 summers mastering your bum sex abilities. After all, this was over a full year before Logan Paul invented the sport of boxing. With physical violence out of reach, people were destined to have their frustrations unresolved. That is until people discovered ways to bicker about which Fred movie was the best, with both parties keeping their limbs once they were done. As interesting as creative as some methods were, only one would officially rise past the rest. That of course being the tried and true method of whining about someone on playground equipment while aggressively defending your sexuality. How come? Well, that's certainly a difficult question, but not one without answers. So get comfy as we set the foundations, because where we're headed, we're gonna need them, and what a better place to start than the very beginning. Check the rock. Originating the 60s and gaining further traction in Golden Age hip-hop, a cool and swift diss track was the finest way to get down to the nitty-gritty about that person you really had an aching for. Never before or since had there been such a convoluted way to inform MC Hammer you don't like his Pepsi commercials. And just like all great rap staples, it would finally reach true immortality as a bunch of crackers would use the art form to embarrass themselves with endless streams of bitching about Eminem's pet goldfish, among other issues of great importance. By the time mid-2010s came around for dinner, diss tracks sort of flatlined. Needless to say, it wasn't really the 90s anymore where you could fart too loud and you'll have 10 dickheads upset with you. Well, besides the obvious, and if you couldn't tell, there are a few people that took great notice of said obvious. If you want to find out who did, it's no problem, because they left a trace in the form of unintelligible dribble on their mediocre Twitter account. One of those mediocre Twitter accounts belonged to one Ricegum who displayed interest in the obvious with several tweets in Drake's support. And just like Drake, Ricegum would declare war on someone who was in dire need of dressing down. That of course being a small child, because it was 2015, and who else are you supposed to start a beef with? I would probably clarify that Ricegum wasn't trying to demolish anyone's careers here. Considering Ricegum's entire internet presence, I doubt he's smart enough to find out which room to piss in, let alone predict the fucking massive collateral damage this would cause the entire YouTube scene for over a full year. Jacob Sartorius wasn't the only punching bag though. There was also the whole BG Media scuffle, which was an endless string of children basically having beefs that contained at least 50 people at a time, most of which being commentary YouTubers in dire need of ideas. Speaking of channels in dire need of ideas, I wouldn't be surprised if the majority of 2017's gross domestic product was entirely generated by Jake Paul related discourse. Something I would be quite surprised about though is if you're unfamiliar with this song. It was the hot trendy thing to shit on back in the day. Seems that the entire internet collectively decided that this is the worst song they've ever heard and delivered their criticisms with impact by giving him millions of dollars. You know, to teach him a lesson, I guess. This clusterfuck of a brag rap song earned the sweat kick in the dick from Ricegum, who was well and truly in his massive cunt phase by this point. Take a quick look at that date there. That means that this pile of wet clay was written, recorded, produced, mixed, shot and edited in well under 2 weeks. Which probably explains why it sounds like some 15-year-old's table scraps. Ricegum wasn't the only capitalist on the Jake Paul bandwagon though. Tens of millions of people would come out of the shadows to give their opinion on this song one way or the other. And a lot of the time, people went completely out of their way to share their thoughts to the point that it became really fucking annoying. To this day, you can still find people shitting on the song completely out of context, no matter what community you're sifting through. So it's exactly not surprising to know that it eventually leaked into our own community, considering that our collective of fuckheads tend to be a big fan of low-hanging fruit. This particular fuckhead being Black Hole's Enjoyer and Pop Filter Avoider C1997, who was the best Geometry Dash YouTuber at the time of his peak. By default, might I add, so take that statement however you please. Samuel L7 himself took a jab at the classic Weird Al style parody of It's Everyday Bro in the only way he knew how, by covering it all himself, wouldn't crackle at all. Although I think that there's little to separate this from a 2012 Minecraft song parody, I did enjoy this one quite a bit. Mostly as a time capsule, might I add, but even as a jaded 100-year-old war veteran like me, I can't deny this was a fun time to rewatch for the 30th time in a row. Safe to say that in the coming months, that fun wouldn't last much longer. Cyrillic is a YouTuber who is best described as a one-hit wonder. Up until 2017, he was nothing more than the guy who made silent circles to most people. Just the guy to go for all your silent circles needs. This wasn't for that reason though. Silent circles is arguably the most famous and influential impossible level of all time. You've probably got better chances beating silent circles and successfully following that up, especially as a 16-year-old idiot. So naturally, in a string of desperate attempts to maintain relevance, he launched Operation Constantly Poke C1997 like a cockroach until he gives in a response. And since he's already been mentioned by C a short while earlier, that gave him the perfect straw to grasp. He ended up latching onto a one-off comment that C made a while ago, comparing him to Kim Jong-un. I don't think that the comment really mattered though, just his name being mentioned alone would have probably been enough to do the trick. So naturally, in response to C's almost joke, he made this.
It's absolutely disgusting to see racism happen only just a few days after the Charlottesville incident.
Out of all the ways to piss someone off over the internet, calling them a racist tends to work pretty well, so it's not exactly surprising why C responded. That being said, this is one of the least convincing callouts I've ever heard, and not for the reason you may think. Cyrillic is one of those YouTubers that aren't really like what their reputation portrays them to be. When thinking of Cyrillic, people generally imagine the man in the three-piece cash converter suit who was really upset with the evil racisms that Samuel H7 has caused. But to be fair on old Cy, that's not a great summary of his character. After giving his channel a quick search, I started playing them in the background of various activities and thought he gave quite a calming aura to him. The same can certainly not be said about C, whose most apparent feature is his comically large ego, which is actually quite off-putting when rewatching his old content from his GD days. Obviously he became a really good science channel, but right now we're focusing on the C with numbers, and the C with numbers was a pretty unpleasant character to put it mildly. I'm not gonna deny it, that dude was a huge dickhead. The amount of times I've seen this dude come up with excuses to bring up his internet point collection is unreal. I'm not exactly planning on spending the next 17 minutes going over every single time he's displayed this level of confidence, but I will acknowledge that there is a reason that this image exists. It doesn't exactly require advanced forensic study to find out why the majority of his own fans at the time thought that he was just a massive cunt. Ooh. That's gotta sting. So even though Cyrillic's attempts to troll weren't convincing, he just happened to poke and prod at the one guy who would have responded even if Cyrillic did nothing but stare awkwardly in his iPhone 6s for an hour. This being a blatant grab for views should be obvious to pretty much everyone, including the man in the air himself, that on multiple occasions pointed this fact out like someone who thinks that it has made a scientific breakthrough. Even though that he knows full well that he's giving into Cyrillic's eyes, he just can't fucking help himself. A man that is so overconfident in his line of thinking that directly after acknowledging that the act he's committing is pointless, proceeds to do it anyway. Was Cyrillic being shitty here? Absolutely, there's no getting around that. Most of Cyrillic's now deleted videos on C were just him quietly mumbling about nothing for minutes at a time, and they are far better off being privated. But I prefer someone being a shit cunt for a short while instead of being a consistent bellend. It's actually kinda hard to gauge how terrible those old videos were because he wiped them off the internet completely and no one seemed to archive them, so make sure to keep that in mind. Another important often ignored factor about this ultimate showdown is that C had over 50 months life experience over Cyrillic. At the time of this clusterfuck taking place, he was barely 16 years old with a bad case of dummy disease. To be honest, I was a bit miffed with the overwhelming amount of people that are still unloading their gripes at Cyrillic 4 years later. Even in his own Discord server, a Discord server which C got banished from, which C understandably didn't like very much. That, as well as the baker's dozen of repetitive videos Cyclic made on him, gave him the motivation to drop the track of the century. It's just like Kendrick Lamar, but if Kendrick Lamar was white and not very good at rapping. Have a look at C's channel for a moment. Where'd the geometry dash go? Was it all a memory? Well, clearly not. It's all on full display in this playlist that he graciously has given us. But the more nosy of you may have noticed the 52 videos that he's got stashed in his tripled padlock coom case. One of those videos being the Cyrillic diss track. How come? I'm not sure. My guess is that he called a 16-year-old a pedophile. If I was that much of a fucking moron, I wouldn't want my song near anyone's face either. That line would be the most interesting set of bars in the entire thing, because he doesn't exactly say anything new with this one. Oh yeah, besides this thing.
I do have a life, using my review on a lit night life.
Marvelous work, C. Rhyming words in themselves. Haven't seen anything better. I know that we all wholeheartedly agree that Kendrick needs to return his Grammy, but let's not give him the win just yet. Time for further analysis.
Tire, but coming at me, I guess it's easy views. I think you're just mad because I own G News.
Yeah, I bet that Cyrillic is real jealous of your Geometry Dash news series. After all, if not for this prize-winning journalism, who else would step up to the table to tell everyone about Spatial Rend, or the Hell Zone, or Buff This 5?
But it's weird to think you've made more vids on me than you've ever fucked girls because you're that ugly. I know.
Well, good for you, Sam. You've had more sex than a 16-year-old. I'm impressed. Tell me more.
Trust me, mate, you're really not big. Your audience is actually smaller than your dick.
You know what, maybe rappers should have ghostwriters. Drake, you've been forgiven, because I'm going to show you the effects of not having your uncle check up on your lesbian status.
You're the biggest disaster since 9/11. How many CVids now? Well, I've counted 7. And what about me? Well, I've made 1. And all I said was that you're Kim Jong-un.
You sure about that?
To my amusement, he was way fatter, uglier, and more unappealing. How ugly and unappealing. The most cringeworthy beg for attention lying through his teeth. I was stupid to trust him in the first place. You actually look far more like his late father, Kim Jong-il. Prick, backstabbing human. Cyrillic is jealous. Wanna be C1997, try and grab relevance from me. How manipulative Cyrillic is. You are a snake of a human being.
Oh, I see. Quick question, mate. Have you ever thought about removing your head from your own ass? Might be a bit scary at first, but I recommend you give it a go. Well, I'm certainly not here to disprove your excellence in documentation, but this on the other hand is rather misleading. You're clearly at the very least a little intrigued when other people talk about you. I'll spend almost every hour of my free time hunting for information about garbage Geometry Dash diss tracks, and your name is everywhere in every single one of these old as fuck comment sections. I have no clue how you found this video that was created in a crusty boiler room with a lifetime of under 100 views. We all know you love this shit, Sam. No need to hide your passions from us. If there's anything I can say about the beat, is that it sure stays true to its title. It's incredibly bland and steadier than a metronome, but yet again, what would I expect from a beat nab from a defunct site named freebeats.com? Not a single line of this track tells us anything we don't know already. By this point, it's very clear that Sam went out hunting to find dirt on the 16-year-old and came out with nothing, which explains why most of his attacks just revolve around name-calling and body shaming. You know, like a child. I could acknowledge his pristine cinematography, his breathtaking lyrical flow, or his incredibly threatening hand gestures that make him look like a 13-year-old. But to be perfectly honest, I'll prefer to but focus on his finest set of lyrics.
Cyrillic, your shit's so fat you can't even see your own dick. Trust me, mate, you're really not big. Crying at night because you can't see your toes. I can't wait for you to have a heart attack, cause I've got a better channel, better life, better way. Now let's begin to talk about your weight. That fucking retard.
Wow, Sam, that sure is observant. But quick question, did you have to mention it 7 fucking times? And if you think that line was great, you better be ready for this.
In fact, let's take a look at this video on diss tracks he did. Cyrillic did this to see if he could cash in on the diss track hype started by Rotashaw and KSI.
Yeah, that's crazy! Who would do that? So this is the guy who will like so much, eh? Interesting. I think I filed this one under interesting idea, but I'll be incredibly upset if you ever try it again. And so did legendary 1 Series Wonder Star XD, who decided enough was enough and took C's life into his own hands. And by that, of course I mean he gathered a few year 9s from the school maths block and made them do Fortnite dances next to playground equipment. Alright, it's time for some quick maths. C's diss track was released September 10th. Star XD's diss track was released September 20th. According to the description, this is at least over a week in the making, which means that he finalized the decision to drop a diss track on C within 72 hours of the song's release. Alright, C's point is suddenly getting sturdier. This is officially the most overdone filter I've ever seen. Has anyone actually noticed the lads in the background? Speaking of lads, are they doing alright? They look like they're being held at ransom for various shiny objects. One of which being a pop filter, cause dear god he needs one. Alright, how are those lyrics looking?
Bet you're not strong and couldn't swing a baseball bat. Stop trying to defend yourself, you always end up wrong.
Well, at least I can't say he didn't try.
You're a criminal and probably stole from a wiki page.
Wait, shit.
Look at this video, it's just so sad and it makes me rage.
Yeah, you tell him, Star. C's got nothing on Geometry Dash exposing number 5. That's exactly what I was thinking. Took the words right out of my mouth. I've never seen a man with such vast knowledge of rhymezone.com. I'm getting a little turned on by his sick bars. You know what, here's the top 5 most awesomest lines in Irrelevant by Star XD.
Yeah, y'all can't handle this. I'm from New Jersey though. White boy.
I particularly love this one because right away it lets us know that we're in for a wicked time, as New Jersey is known for its spectacular white rappers. Rappers such as... next one.
Like a dirty rat, bet you're not strong and couldn't swing a baseball bat.
I personally gravitated to this one not only because of its brilliant executed rhyming scheme, but because C's admitted it to being true. To quote him directly, I can't swing a baseball bat because I'm from the UK, and we don't play baseball because baseball's shit. Seeing this high level of facts in one sentence makes me wish for an alternate reality where C put as much effort into roasting Cyrillic as he did roasting baseball.
You ever knew? See, 1997, your content's really bad. I don't know why you're relevant, you're honestly just a fad. See, 1997, your content's really bad. I don't know why you're relevant, you make me really sad. See, 1997, your content's really bad. I don't know why you're relevant, you're honestly just a fad.
Oh my
See, 1997,
god, when
really
the
bad. I don't know why
fuck
you're
does
relevant,
it
you're really
end? This line takes up just over a third of the song, can you tell? And I bet you all agree, it just keeps getting better and better every single time he says it. And to think he wasted such great songwriting by unlisting this video. Now this was the content my mesos were designed for.
Rage, you have to stretch your videos for extra ad revenue. Man, that's just not cool, have you ever knew?
Now this line is special for two reasons. The first being his exceptional command of the English language, which he used to choose just the 4 words to make me absolutely lost on what the fuck he's talking about. And second,
You have to stretch your videos for extra ad revenue. Man, that's just not cool, have you ever knew?
A for effort.
Wrong, let's all admit, my bars are pretty litty, and that's because of the fact that England is my city!
Not only was this the littiest of all the bars, this establishes that the most memorable lines in the song were written by Jake Paul, another white boy known for polished songwriting. With such excellent songwriters under his belt, it's no wonder that this track was met with such glowing reviews. Even though I am quite frankly in awe of his unparalleled rapping abilities, it still feels like there's something missing to really cement this as being the true best rap single of 2017. That of course being sick playground stunts. But let's be honest with ourselves here, what we really need is more white guys smugly rapping over free-to-use beats that they found on YouTube. But don't you worry, and these just got us all covered with the best rap performance in Soulja Boy's Turn My Swag On. Luckily for us, Amnesia came to the rescue to not only fill the slide-shaped hole in our lives, but to fill the niche of jump-shash diss tracks by people with numbers in their names. On a slightly less important note, Amnesia did the impossible and made a diss track that isn't a jumble of shit. And before you all ask, no, you can't barbecue cheese sausages on the music video. Believe me, I tried. I know this will make a fantastic deep fry, but unfortunately I haven't quite figured it out yet. If you remember last time an artist with a number in their name created a diss track, the biggest issue with that was how every single detail was so plainly fucking obvious that there was no reason to listen to the track because it didn't reveal even a single morsel of information. Well, this one has the exact opposite problem. I literally have no clue what the fuck he's saying, which I can forgive to a certain extent because after all this is a C1997 diss track and not a Numptaloid diss track. But at the same time, if no one knows what the hell is going on, you might as well rap the entire song over a bad telephone signal and not even release it to YouTube, as most of the YouTube viewer base generally aren't clones of C1997, with the exception of Floroni of course. I know this sounds a bit weird to say about a song that's only 4 years old, but I don't think this aged quite so well. Not in the traditional sense, this sounds exactly the same as the day it was made, but I bet most of the insults towards the titular Ocean Man himself would have sounded way clearer at the time, especially listening to it as someone who doesn't have a master's degree in short-lived mindless Twitter arguments. Not that he made it easy, he didn't provide a well-annotated genius.com entry or anything. There isn't even any genius entry at all, so I guess it's my job to analyze lyrics on my own. Lame. And if you ever heard this track, you would know the one thing he repeats throughout the entire song, so I better get out of the way before we move on to other legendary moments.
Crank the bass and get your coke out on your back with some molly and coke, some weed smoke, but the drug addicted version. Cause you rap like you're a hungover cow. No, you have 20 an ad rev and a bag of weed, cracking them with 10 beers. Get drunk and get a felony. Date meth heads, you're so lonely and desperate.
Okay. I don't remember C having the reputation of a coke fiend. I tried to look into it, but all I found is the world's most brutal forum thread. And now that we've tackled one repetitive theme in this track, we might as well go after the other one.
Let's see, so far Sam's lied and stolen his way to the top. Y'all stealing from me, it's all thievery. How about you give me some credit? To the GD graveyard I'm headed.
Fun fact, not a single one of you know what the hell this guy is talking about. But don't you worry mate, Considering that context is pretty vital to this fat wedge of confusing songwriting, I might as well provide some. I think it's about time I've shown you all the true reasons that this diss track was really made.
Woke up today with the same pain as every day. Colors desaturating, reds are turning into grays.
Chances are, if you've ever heard of Amnesia before this video, it'll be for a pretty limited set of options depending on your Geometry Dash veteran status. Cyrillic's list of memorable moments isn't huge, but Amnesia's scope is even more limited. With the exception of some tutorials, before this diss track was released, Tyler's Golden Goose was his very own Geometry Dash news series, the very first of its kind. There may have been a fringe news video hiding in some basement somewhere, but considering that the series dates back to 1.7, I doubt it. Geometry Dash News is Amnesia's very own idea, which is what I would say if the news wasn't already in existence for a couple thousand years. Even if C committed highway robbery here, if you take a second to remember those old news videos.
But I don't quite know the word to use. I'm in a tree right now. Wow. Do I have ADD or... So, this is going to be a Geometry Dash video, and it's going to be about,
They were pretty bad. C has made a better version of your product. By the time he started his own series, yours had slowed down to a screeching halt. It's time for you to let the news go. You might have been the first mover, but in reality nobody really owns the news. So to claim someone stole your idea that has technically existed thousands of years before you were born doesn't exactly hold up well in court. Well, unless he's actually a bag dispenser, then you might actually have a 6-month time advantage on him when he decides to drop another one. Looks like he really needed it, considering that you describe your lyrics as verbal genius, which sure is a statement coming from a song who wasn't even good enough to be on Genius. Let's hear more of this genius.
Let's see, so far Sam's lied and stolen his way to the top. G News and conspiracy cases that flopped. Alright, stop Samuel, let's talk shop.
Oh fuck you Amnesia, that's my job, I'm the one talking shop. Fucking dickheads always taking my job. Do you really want to know how C became Talk Dog? It wasn't G News, it wasn't Maps from Hell, the Legend series, or even any single video on his channel. This is how he got popular. This is what sent him to the top. Just look at this desolate wasteland. This community has absolutely been starved of above average content creators for over half a decade. The Geometry Dash YouTube scene in 2016 was nothing but gameplay channels, god-awful rants, or genuine attempts at content which was so shitty that people returned to those gameplay channels and god-awful rants. In order to become a big YouTuber back then, you didn't actually have to be good, but good enough. So when C arrived on the scene with something that's slightly above the bare minimum, it's no wonder why everyone soiled themselves. I know that you may think that slightly above the bare minimum is a little too harsh to describe C's content. Well, is it? There's tons of glaring issues with this content that even I can point out with only 5 months worth of Sony Vegas experience at a subcount that might as well be in the negatives. Speaking of negatives,
Which one is it? Pick! Going to the club just to stock some chick. Spill water on your iPad.
why did you layer your vocals like that? They sound like they're being recorded with pipe cleaners. I understand that vocal layering can be used as a great tool, but when you insert them... Yep, that's a dead squirrel, alright. It's even being prettied up by the deep fat fryer and everything. Just to clarify, to all you people who flip your shit like it's your first time ever seeing roadkill, no, he didn't kill it himself. He didn't exactly take his mate's boomstick and gently flatten it with a 50 caliber bullet. Despite what C would have you to believe, the only person to blame for the death of the squirrel is some driver who just didn't know any better, as if there was any chance of it being literally anything else.
You hate Trump even more than Cyrillic. US or Korea? Which one is it? Pick! Going
Also, this line here, C better be absolutely fucking ecstatic that his Twitter is suspended right now, because considering I found this with little effort, there's probably many other 5-year-old goodies stored away in there. Here's a compilation of lyrics I've absolutely no clue in the hell of figuring out.
Coke out, parents' basement, getting thrown out. Leave the comedy to me, Omar. And you're really about to see Omar. Going to the club just to stock some chick. Spill water on your iPad makes me Hey look, it's water and wreckage. Watching anime, it's so pathetic. But you got too triggered and sent hate toward me. The dumb fan spawned there and began to don ads, drawing happiness over all of the sadness. Building my platinum elevator. You're bound to fail, you're bound to weep. Like a bubble that's frail or a guy drowned deep.
Man, what a waste of lyrics. Wait, hang on, what's he doing? Yeah, finally, there's the stunts I was after.
That's what I'll do to see 1997.
Yeah dude, I'm sure. I bet you're totally gonna follow through with that promise.
shit in his mouth.
I don't know why this dude wants to shit in C's mouth so bad, but I'm more concerned why people keep putting numbers in their names. At least this time, someone actually had the balls to put the Free Syndrome beat that they nabbed in the description. It's a pretty good beat to be fair, but not good enough to carry the track. Admittedly, Amnesia pulls his own weight instead of taking the route of just letting your producer do the job for you. I don't really mind the mixing either. After a few dozen listens, I got used to the weird clipping in the first verse. It's nice to see someone rap through a beat instead of rapping on top of one for once. Compared to C's rap talking, this shit is something of legend. On the subject of legend.
When I found the key, I'm a legend. Make a video of me.
Oh, Jesus Christ, what the fuck is he doing? Actually, I take back everything I said about the production. Amnesia doing his own mixing was a mistake, but ignoring that, it's clear that he genuinely cares about this track, despite its legendary moments and unresearchable lyrics. It's miles better than C, who raps like he'd rather be doing calculus. The music video itself could not be better for the technology he had. Even though I'm mostly here for the supreme displays of acrobatics, the editing work here does a pretty fucking great job, distracting us from the fact that most of it was filled by a handheld camera. Speaking of amateurs with handheld cameras, the reaction video brigade ensued following both Amnesia's and Sarek C's respective tracks, and they're just as low quality as you expected, but on different ends. Cole literally didn't fucking try at all. Sarek C made at least something of note. Not only did C create 33 minutes of filler, he also made some really wacky assumptions. There's too many of them to note here, so I'll just show my personal favorite.
G News and conspiracy theories that flopped.
Oh my god. When was the last time you had 50,000 views on a video? I mean, have you ever had 50,000 fucking views on a video?
Well, Sam, I hate to burst your bubble, but I regret to inform you that he might have. You may be wondering, is that really the only thing you got out of these two long as fuck reaction videos spanning well over half an hour? And my response to that would be, well, yeah, that's pretty much it. C barely has anything to say half the time when he's scripted. You can trust me when I say watching this man perpetually projecting his grumbles onto you for 33 minutes is not exactly a calendar clearing event. And on top of that, just imagine having the privilege of experiencing the joy of watching 2 hours worth of emotionless reaction videos by gameplay channel scrubs. Actually, you know what? How about you watch it with me? Let's watch them right now.
It's just so sad and it makes me rage. You have to stretch your videos for extra ad revenue. Man, that's just not cool. Have you ever knew?
Well, I could just play Man Ray again. You know what, actually, let's go back to the rapping. The sound of C rhyming words themselves has never sounded better. Matter of fact, give me a song that's even worse than C rhyming words themselves. Hand me whatever dissonant mess that you can come up with. So, what's next? Oh. It's over. There's nothing left. After reaction season was all over, the dust finally settled. No more diss tracks, no more beef. Saddest of all, no more cringe. All we got is empty space. Lots and lots of empty space. All that's left is a few remaining stragglers. Now that the stars have evaporated, might as well start exploring space while I'm here. There's one issue though. I'm completely stranded in the middle of space. Got no ship. Wait, Xanthic? Hey, I thought you quit. New hobby. Ah, fair enough I guess. So, you mind if... Yeah, it's a 3-seater. Ow, fuck. Believe it or not, even though fire was well and truly extinguished, doesn't mean that nobody was throwing any flames. On the contrary, many brilliant rappers would come to the table during this time, like this dude. I can't tell what he's spitting, but it's probably facts. On the subject of small YouTubers, 2018 was the debut of the very chill and very totally not annoying as fuck subscriber war of PewDiePie and T-Series, where everyone banded against the Big Bag T-Series to support a close friend in a time of great need. Cause if some Swedish manchild didn't maintain his internet points, he wouldn't be able to afford his 5th mansion. And we can't have that. Luckily for Felix, tens of millions of honourable 9-year-olds came out of the woods to support a truly noble cause. One of those 9-year-olds being Juniper, who's... she's, the girl one, who came out with her own parody of PewDiePie's very own diss track. And by parody, I of course mean just laser replacing the lyrics with something that's already popular, just like a Minecraft song from 2012. And everyone loves those, so you know this is gonna be good.
Hacks and modding, hacks and modding. T-Series ain't nothing without hacks and modding, hacks and modding, hacks and modding.
You want me to play it some more? No? Ah, yeah. Thought the same. Sorry Juniper, I'm gonna have to chuck you a minus 20 decibels for a little while. I don't really need to play any more of it. It's a 15-year-old white girl's attempt to crumble a $500 million company through the strategy of diss track. It's not exactly a great surprise that it sounds like someone trying to have sex with a ceiling fan. And I know you're all expecting a frame-by-frame analysis of this, but unfortunately I don't quite have the time. Aww. Yeah, I know, you're all sad, but save your tears for another day, cause neither did Juniper, because despite being a professional Jump Shit Dash YouTuber, she's completely fucking clueless about how the game even works.
Look at T-Series, all their stats are harshly falling.
I know that by this point, I shouldn't expect Jump Shit Dash YouTubers to know what the hell they're doing, but you would think that you would know that in this game your stats can't go down. Actually no, maybe they did, considering that most Jump Shit Dash players need parental guidance when attempting to take a shit, maybe they found a way.
And modding, hacks, and modding. T-Series just rage quit cause they wanted drama. So
I could do this forever. You may be thinking that this is a completely unlistenable clusterfuck, but you see, it's ironic. And as we all know, if something's ironic, that means it's completely immune to criticism. Just listening to it, I can already see that this is the funniest thing I've ever heard. Just watch me ironically hit my hand with this hammer. If you're in for some more ironic pain, let me introduce you to a rip-off of a joke song that rips off another joke song even though it came out first. All about everyone's favorite extreme demon. You all remember Vaseline Gratis, right? Yeah, someone with a black in it. If you look down in the corner there, you may have noticed that I've disliked this video, and if you're wondering why, it's because I'm currently going through the parliamentary process to make him give me back the 2 minutes that he stole from me. And if you're thinking that attempting to petition a shitty parody song out of existence is an unnecessary action, you would be sorely mistaken, because I have the rights to sue for damages after having to experience 2 uninterrupted minutes of this.
Sorry,
I can't quite hear you. Can you turn the music down? Can you turn it down, please? And if you think that was exhausting, just wait until you hear the verses.
Your levels are worse than writing down copy paste. Color your weak point, generic is your taste.
Some brilliant wordplay, sir. I bet once the big kids of the sandpit see these biting insults, you're gonna acquire every single female within a 500-kilometer radius. Wish you luck with the Vivo deals.
I bet Nubble Boy sucks dick for cash. He's not good at geometry dash. Not at all.
How did I get here? Alright, what's next? This one.
Goes out to my homeboys. Shout out to all my followers. Shout out to all my subscribers. Love you guys.
Oh shit, here we go, I guess.
Let's start with Flop. He's just as bad as an English dog.
Okay, that's enough of that. Wait, shit, another one.
Your content is Montonius.
Montonius? What the hell does that mean?
Making me cringe with my birthday like gunfire.
I think I've seen enough. What's Chris up to?
Hey, I remember playing Stereo Madness really bad, but I made sure to get into practice.
Oh god, I'm out of orbit again. Wait, Timthik, what the hell's going on? Where are we? Space. But seriously though, we should probably start heading back into the exosphere. Can't, out of petrol. Wait, shit, really? What type of fuel were you using? Diesel. On a spaceship? This is a boat. Ah, right. We in the void again? Not quite. Earth's right over there. Didn't we run out of fuel? Just use this. Thanks, but how are we gonna get back? Viper will come and get me soon enough. He's bound to want another Sonic level eventually. You can't stay #1 forever. Well, goodbye then. Well, where were we? Oh god, not again. That's right, cunts, Amnesia's back to penetrate the eyes and ears of the Geometry Dash community once again. But not only that, he also brought C with him. Because what diss track is complete without C1997 calling someone else a pedophile? Not once, nor twice, but 3 times. Not only that, he just treated it like it was nothing too. He just dropped it in the middle of each verse like they were nothing special. What, you expect me to just pass over that? Like it's not one of the most fucking outrageously careless things I've ever heard a Geometry Dash YouTuber say?
Large base, small man at 5 foot, it's just embarrassing. Revealing your dick size to the kids that you're harassing.
It's not like he changed the delivery of tone to let you know he's not actually calling them a nonce. When listening to this, I can only conclude that he's not kidding and genuinely thinks these men indulge in having relations with women that are no older than the soup of the day. But since this is the YouTube audience after all, I'll put my efforts into answering what I bet most of you are more likely to be initially concerned with.
I'm 20 now, I'm way too mature. I'm done with this entire diss track hype. I'm done with that part of my channel, I'm sorry.
It's untouched, Deluxe.
Right now, you're probably pretty confused. How can they collapse on a diss track after flinging shit at each other for 2 years straight? What was even the point of the last ones if they're all just gonna be best mates in the end? I don't know, you tell me. This time around, the punching bag was none other than the king of really shitty impossible levels, Tosh Deluxe. He might have made a good video once, not too sure though. If you've said the words geometry or dash within the last 6 years, you would have probably heard about the endless shit this dude has got himself involved with. The list goes on for pages of just stupid pointless feud after stupid pointless feud. Simply put, people fucking hate this guy. 99% of his videos are filler, and he's mostly just a gameplay channel that's in constant denial about being a gameplay channel. Another person in denial would be Amnesia for thinking that this diss track would even come close to hurting his feelings.
Liking and hating, striking, not gonna take it in my vid. Put an hours into content for you to dislike, but because you don't like it.
I guess if it didn't work on C, it must work on Tosh Deluxe. Look, I would respect your effort in taking down some random fucker from the Netherlands if you didn't straight say to your audience face that you're only hopping onto this for some guaranteed views.
Heathen, and this is the behind the scenes because I need to milk this cow as much as possible, because if I don't, then my channel is going to die for probably the 5th time in about 2 years.
You dirty sorry, you're a con man, the dumb fans, fun dad, began to don ads, try not happy. Diss tracks are all I have.
Shamelessness aside, Heathen surpassed all expectations with flying colours by throwing no less than 1 trillion punches and not being able to land a single one. If you thought Tyler's last outing was vague, then you haven't seen anything yet.
Ego bigger than mine, biggest around than the anger the Husical found. Name his cat after him. If it disagreed with him, probably have a put down.
I guess if I was inside the mind of the great mind block himself, I would be absolutely fucking seething right now. But it's a little difficult to get your message to land with the masses when your target audience is a population of 1. Not even the dude that made the subtitles knows what he's saying. All I hear is a bunch of nonsensical insults getting thrown at some guy I don't know. Why is there a train?
No more demons, you're evil, man, I'm clean, kid, I'll beat you till you're bleeding like my eyes after your heathens fit.
I don't know why he would install his fan-made 21 Pilots video, considering that they're both absolutely caked in post-production effects. You had a plethora of garbage within arm's reach, and you decided not to go for it. I legitimately can't tell what this track is trying to do. Is it a brag rap? Expose? He's more clear on his PC specs than he is on his own music. He keeps beginning to detail the shit that Tosh has done, but then he gives up to move on either a brag or referencing to another YouTuber that I had to look up again.
You're the best, sir, at sir, no room for threat slurs, then stir some controversy with a jester.
What does it have to do with this? I've got a pretty good guess, but there could be a million other things buried balls deep in half-decade-old Twitter squabbles that it could be about. Who knows? It's not like he'll ever tell us. He's too busy showing off his cool nitrix to explain his genius songwriting to us. Man, just look at that thing go. Maybe if you do it for long enough, I'll maybe just turn off the mute button.
Victimation, macho, playful, not your inflation, you're mentally unstable, brah. You're addicted, clicking a screen while using an apple over the back of an anal.
There's clearly plenty of easy to comprehend razor-sharp digs at him in the song. That being said, many of the bars that stand out as being good end up making surrounding ones worse just by existing. Specifically this one here.
Bigger to make it better, your sin is beginning to write us a letter of who you are, not the man love of the killer who's plucking on Twitter and says the word.
The last word of the sentence here is completely censored, but YouTube audiences would know just by the little snippet of Keemstar here what he's referring to without having to say it in the song. I gotta give it to Amnesia, that was a pretty smart use of just a short little slice of audio. But here's the thing, shortly after that he makes use of censorship again, but not even remotely as well, so instead of sounding clever it just sounds clueless.
Whatever says the word. Fans would love you even if you'd shoot a kid, even if you'd shoot your on the face of Google Blitz.
He blanks out a word, but there's absolutely no clues to let the listener figure out what it was. The music video not being much help either, since he just covers his mouth with an adorably tiny image of flub. It can't be the N-word again, because it would make no sense, but if it's not that, what does he mean? Jizz, probably. Speaking of jerk-offs,
fans are a river, but you mess with the sea. 3 times bigger, but still not as relevant as me.
C's part is just a Cyberlic diss track again, non-allegations at all, which is what I might say if C's verse wasn't such a drastic improvement over his previous attempts at music creation. Well, thinking about his previous work, I'll consider an improvement if I didn't want to launch him into orbit by the time he's done talking. I say talking because the only thing that indicates this verse being a rap is that he rhymes words that happen to be over a beat. It's way better than the last time C decided to create a diss track, mostly because he decided to send for someone that could legally buy a Red Bull. I have to assume Amnesia was a huge help too, as I find it hard to believe that he didn't give many pointers.
For revenue, would you spend on tacky gold garments, gold watch, gold rings, trying to flex on the barmaids?
Although Amnesia swiftly undid all the help by mixing everything like a caveman who just discovered that humans have multiple ears. To be honest, I just like rewatching his verse just so I can point out all the breaths he forgot to take out.
Hunting and attacking rivers flavor because you're a self-conscious, washed up wannabe Uber driver.
But to be fair in retrospect, those are all relatively moderate issues that most most people will ignore by the time they've gotten to their 150th listening sesh, the same way I ignored the shits that my dogs leave in the backyard. I would point out here what the major issue is, but I don't need to because Amnesia already did it for me.
It's so pathetic. Complexity's what you lack. You're bland with your monotone voice. I mean, just tough time.
And when he says monotone voice, he really isn't kidding.
Here, the club, because you'd stick out downstairs. You must be so insecure. You must live in despair.
I don't think that there's a single moment where he changes up his delivery. It's also similar to itself that I can't tell his jokes and disses apart. Are there jokes? I assume so, because if none of them are, then
He's facing a charge of being a perv on the ride.
Someone's got some explaining to do. But hey, at the very least, I can say that this is C's best verse, even if he didn't bother to record a second take. Surprisingly, I don't mind Amnesia's verse that much either, even though he most likely only found out what stereo sound was that morning. And despite it sounding like maybe his third time trying this mixing thing, when I expect the Neptunes, in the end of the day, with the exception of the beat, he did it all himself. For what it is, it could be worse. Here's worse.
Face is cool, you're just as tall, you need to learn to take this bird as fire, common higher, distant dire, now it's power.
Whoa, no way, it's the guy. Yeah, I've been hiding a verse from you, mostly because it's after the credits and it's not anywhere else except the YouTube version. Not to mention, it doesn't even try to connect to the rest of the song. It was probably just here to squash anyone's thoughts that this whole diss track beef wasn't completely fabricated. Ignoring the obvious plot hole about all three of the artists on this track previously getting into a skirmish, only to give up any and all semblance of it holding any weight barely just 8 months later, I admit that Star's verse isn't really anything to get upset over at face value, considering that it's completely detached from the rest of the verses. Hell, it's so detached I'm not even seeing you about it, which is mild to moderately concerning, but I'll just chalk that up from him being too busy strumming himself facing a mirror to notice. Not unlike the Ocean Man before him, StarXC dips his toe in the act of completely blowing multiple lines in a row and never bothering to spend more than 3 minutes writing and recording his verse. But am I gonna sit here and pretend I'm mad at it? No. Why would I be, considering that he appears to be more frustrated at his own verse than I am? I assume he just wanted to be done with it as quick as he possibly could. Which, to be honest, this time around, I don't really blame him for not having the ability to have any of his disses connect.
Now I'm grabbing all that cash, killing like I'm really crash, spit so much you know it's splash, ready for my final smash.
I would call this a textbook example of in one ear and out the other. Who knows, maybe if he wanted to, he could become the next high dollar sign, and within 5 years' time, StarXC guest verses will be a defining asset to the 2026 pop landscape. But as of now, he is yet to appear on Katy Perry's comeback single, so we'll have to settle the CSGO funny moments for now. And now it's finally all over. No follow-ups, no reactions, no resolution, just StarXC looking like he needs a raise. So, what's left? Well, not too much to be perfectly honest with you, but we've been here for a while and we've got plenty of non-pant buckling related things to discuss. So let's get into it right this instant, you big, smelly bitch. I would go over the many reasons that Geometry Dash diss tracks slowly faded away over the following years, but I don't really need to since they didn't really have a fade and more of a complete and sudden implosion. To put it simply, Geometry Dash YouTubers fucking suck. This economy is completely based on milking what's already popular, and it's not remotely surprising that it only lasted less than a year from beginning to end. Diss tracks, in the end of the day, were created for the sole purpose of tearing others down, so naturally at the end of the day they all just flamed out, to the disappointment of the 13-year-old C-tards, and ironically demonstrating their approval of these diss tracks with a pair of well-lit iOS flame emojis. This trend was made to be a rip-off of a rip-off by a 19-year-old university student who, despite being sober, chose to get into the ring with a 16-year-old. Unfortunately, Tosh never ended up responding to Heathen, but what can you do when your method of attack can be countered just through the act of simply ignoring it unless it reaches a minimum threshold of attention to become unignorable. And according to Mr. Fuckle, a viewership of 100 times our most viewed video wasn't enough to warrant addressing the raspberries getting thrown in his direction, as is the expected outcome. Unimaginable numbers to someone like me, and everyday occurrence to someone like him. So, what do we learn? Well, first of all, it's difficult to look even remotely cool while rapping if you're also a massive dork who spends all their time alone making Geometry Dash themed YouTube videos. And you'll just make yourself look like a massive loser if you ever partake in bickering over fake Geometry Dash infighting. But most importantly, never take Geometry Dash YouTubers seriously, because no matter what, how much they pretend that they're making a difference in this community, they'll always be nothing more than popcorn to the audience of perpetually virginal middle schoolers that only care about their content simply because no one else gives a fuck about this game or this community to try to outdo them. So I'm gonna stay here, living the good life with Xanthic Alpha. Got everything I need right under this big rock. If you ever want to come aboard, there's more than enough room, just for you. Hope you enjoy your popcorn, everyone. Hope to see you again.
you.